All right, let's begin. Hello, welcome to the Ground Podcast. This is a slightly different format. There is an interview coming after this, but I just thought why not round up what has happened last week in Indian sports. So, let's start with cricket. Sarfaraz Khan finally got his debut for the national test side this week. Talks of him getting into the team were ongoing for like 2 years, and in that time, he scored 9 centuries and had an average of 90 in the 2022 Ranji Trophy and had an average of 46 in 2023. So we can say well deserved. And to sum it up, his situation was like the character Sarfraz in the movie PK, where he spent an eternity uh, waiting for just one call. So yeah, I know it's a bit awkward to see SSR again, RIP great man. But moving on to some football news. There is no news as such. Clubs are making losses, AIFF is in a civil war, and FSDL is greedy. What's new? But I am going to talk about the title race because Odisha is leading the line, but have played 2 to 3 more games, and there are just 6 points between the top five. So anything can happen. So you kind of have to watch it now how it unfolds. It's like IPL, guys. Just just remove the money and the fans and stuff. The stadiums are the same though, but hey, don't focus on the negative. You all, I'm talking about you, not me. If not for ISL, how would you have a realistic player career mode in EAFC? You start from Northeast United and play for Burnley or someone. Let's move on to Kabaddi. No, I can't do it like the announcers. But Kabaddi season is going quite good. 6 teams have already now qualified for the playoffs. We are entering into the last week. But more importantly, Puneri Paltan Jaipur, the last year's finalists, have been exceptional this season. I think in the history of Indian sports, no two teams have been so dominant and so aggressive throughout the season. And from these two teams, Puneri Paltan have been even more exceptional. I think if there was an award to give for the best Indian sports team, I think Puneri Paltan is up there. It's dominance, it's world class, it's taking youth and making them play against the big sides and still getting such big results. So if you're not a Kabaddi fan, I can explain it in cricketing terms. Remember how dominant we were in the World Cup 2023, apart from the final. Sorry for mentioning it, but yeah, that's that kind of dominance. So I think it's going to be a massive playoffs, and let's see what happens. But yeah, you can follow that. Now let's talk about hockey. Yeah. India won 1-0 against Ireland in the AFI Hockey League last week, and we moved to fourth, which is good or bad. I mean, I don't know. Hockey fans, please help me here. Our women's team, though, is not really doing well. That's for sure. 6 games and 6 position and just 3 points. So this tournament basically is important because teams can qualify to the Olympics, which is in 5-6 months now. But no worries for the men's team because we have already qualified by winning the Asian Games gold. But for the women's team, it's still here and there, and I think failure to qualify for the Olympics would be a big blow to the women's side. So one thing I can just think of one thing: where is Shah Rukh Khan when you need him? Now, lastly, coming to some serious matters, wrestling. WFI's ban was lifted. It was banned because of all the protests. So it's good for the wrestlers who were not part of the protests. But is it good overall? The new president is Sanjay Singh, who is reported to be a close ally of Brij Bhushan, who of course has cases pending against him. Brij Bhushan's son was appointed as a head of UP's wrestling. So they just lied because the new committee had promised that no one from his family or any relative from Brij Bhushan can enter the sport again, but they just lied. At least go for some distant relative, who you can't even remember the name of in the event, but you just nod and say that, yeah, I remember you, that kind of stuff. But no, they directly went for the son, the closest anyone can get. So it's like replacing an older version with the younger version. It's like Zoya Akhtar saying she made Archie's for the people to watch it. No, Zoya, it's a lie and you know it. But in all seriousness, this all begs us to say one statement very, very, very clearly. We don't need politicians to run Indian sports. There you go. I said it. Thank you for the applause, guys. Alright, enough of me now. Let's move on to our interview where the founder of a company, Greenmyna, talks to me about what their company did during the World Cup 2023 to make it a bit more sustainable. You know what? Just let's move on to the interview. Thank you for listening to me. But let me just introduce first Ashwin Malwade, who is the owner, founder of Greenmyna. If I'm pronouncing it right, please correct me if I'm not. But
Yeah.
thank you for coming here. And just very briefly, can you tell our audience what exactly your company does in this sector?
Hi, Avanish. Thank you for having me on this podcast. And quickly, I'll just before I start what my company does, I'll give you a brief background what I used to do. For 18 years of my professional life. So I was a captain in the Merchant Navy. I started my career back in 2004 in the Merchant Navy, and fast forward to 2016 when I saw the ocean really changing in front of me with the amount of plastic that was in the ocean and there were oil spills and etc. Something within me told me that I should go beyond just couch activism and actually do something on ground and not just waste my time and my time off during vacation just by meeting friends, partying, etc. Do something more meaningful in life. And that's how I started my journey. And the trigger point was when I knew there was a lot of waste generated being thrown into the ocean. But the trigger was when I saw a toilet seat in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean floating. So I said, what is this? What I mean, really, if there is no land 3,000 miles apart, and if I'm seeing a toilet seat here, I mean there is something really wrong with the oceans. And that's how my journey started. I started with a lot of beach cleanups in Mumbai. I started joining a lot of movements, understanding the problem of plastic pollution, and in general, what is wrong with our climate and our planet in that sense. So that's how my journey started, and that's where I met my wife Nupur at a beach cleanup in Mumbai at Warsaw Beach. We bonded together, and we decided we fell in love, and I said, okay, let's get married, and we had our own low waste wedding. And when we are in the midst of having that planning of that wedding, we realized that we wanted to have a sustainable wedding. After picking thousands of kilos of trash from the beach, we didn't want to generate the same amount at our own wedding. And we started going out to planners out there to ask them if they can plan a sustainable wedding, and then actually none out there. And that's how our journey started. And so we knew what is sustain, what is it. If it's found on the beach, it's not sustainable. It was as simple as that. I did not need any knowledge, prior knowledge for that. And that's why reverse engineered our own wedding, and it was not just low waste, but probably zero waste. And we created a real impact. We had 250 people at our wedding. We planted 250 saplings. So each of the guests that came for the our wedding, we minimized waste at its source, and then whatever waste did come out of it, we had a waste management company on site. So those were a great learnings from that, and we did it just for the planet Earth. We did not want it, not as a business model or something like that. But I think somewhere it resonated a lot of people that yes, our celebrations and events do generate a lot of waste and do cause harm to the planet. And we would love for somebody like us to come on board and help us out. And that's how Greenmyna was literally born, from our own wedding. And we realized that there are many people out there, like us, who actually want to celebrate consciously but don't know how to do it, or don't have the bandwidth. That's how Greenmyna was born. We started doing sustainable weddings and events, and we did our first wedding in post-COVID in February 2021, 22. In fact, between those two waves, for 3,000 odd people. That was our first wedding, and we did 3,000, and the impact we realized, if you're not there, if Greenmyna was not part of this wedding, the amount of food wastage, the amount of plastic that would be generated would have been enormous. And that's how we got the confidence, and this is how we are after 3 years of being in existence. So, first of all, that's a big problem that I feel even I am facing, and even right now we are having a conversation
for maybe in my mind it is like for a betterment or maybe spreading awareness about this, but we know that the space that Zoom will use in their servers will still produce some kind of an effect on climate. And in this situation somewhere we are, or and I am like, what can I do to negate that? Because I can't just leave not having the conversations, because this is something I love to
Right.
do, but I have to be conscious in that. So I guess that this happened for a sport as well. And then how did you get connected to the World Cup? I saw your video where you were explaining, how your company helped out during the World Cup. What was that? And how did you start doing, or how did you get connected with this World Cup, whatever happened?
Yeah. Earlier this year, the world has been talking about climate change and its impact, on us now and not in the future. And the ICC, along with Coca-Cola India, came up with great initiative that the World Cup that was going to be held in the month of October, November in India, they wanted to make it a sustainable event
Hmm.
and ensure it was a zero landfill event.
Hmm.
And of course, that's how ICC and Coca-Cola India reached out to us through its intermediary United Way to if we can manage the stadiums in Mumbai and Pune. So there was a tender that went out. We had made a proposal, and they liked the ideas and what we had to offer when it came to organizing a sustainable cricket match.
Hmm.
That's how it happened. We got onboarded in the month of August at the World Cup. Yeah, so that's how we came on board with the ICC, and we obviously had, although we had done a wedding for 3,000 people, we had never manage people at the size of a
Hmm.
cricket match. And this is a world event, and very much look forward to buy all everyone in India and abroad. But we have very limited knowledge of how to go about it. But I did know, I also played cricket professionally for Mumbai
Okay.
back in my days, so I knew, okay,
Hmm.
this was my first love. Cricket was always my first love. Obviously, I was on the field and on the 22 yards, but I now was on the other side. So I just
Hmm.
imagine myself that if I'm in a stadium, packed stadium, how is my experience going to be? And then I also got the environmental angle into it. What is the kind of waste that will be generated at an
Hmm.
event?
Hmm.
And for previous matches that I have been at stadiums in Mumbai and in India and abroad. So that's how our journey started, and of course, the job scope given to us was very clear that we have to minimize waste at source as
Hmm.
much as possible and ensure waste source segregation of waste so that none of the waste does go to a landfill. So I'll just quickly give you context in this,
Hmm.
so those people watching and don't understand how waste segregation happens. So the reason our municipal corporation, our Swachh Bharat rules say that you should segregate your waste into two categories, dry and wet, is because moment your waste gets contaminated or gets mixed, dry and wet waste gets mixed, it is non-recyclable nor compostable.
Hmm.
Right,
Hmm.
so all that happens to the waste is this goes to a landfill.
Hmm.
Now multiply the waste of one person into 35,000, that is generated an average stadium capacity, say in
Hmm.
Wankhede
Yeah.
and or at the Pune Bharat. So this was the amount of waste that we're going to generate in 8 hours. And imagine if this waste was not segregated at source, it would go into a
The
landfill.
landfill.
And
Yeah.
just to give you numbers, this at one match we were generating about 10 to 12,000 kilos of waste. So that is 12 tons of waste going into a landfill if it was not so segregated. So that was our this is what we had to deal with. First, the emotions of people, they come into watch a
Hmm.
cricket match, they're paying a lot of money to do this. And second, now how do we get the environmental green initiative, how to explain them that okay, what you are doing now of putting your waste in the right bin is giving a great service to humanity.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's how we worked. Started with our journey, and we made multiple visits to the stadiums to understand the current practices at these two stadiums and what they were doing for for Wankhede has been around for 1965. So what were the waste practices? Who manages the waste? Where does it finally go? First, we went to the local BMC ward and asked them about it. So they said that because the stadium is a bulk generator, they have they no way manage the waste coming out of it. It has to be done by independent waste management company. So okay, fair, that's the first point. Then we spoke to the cricket association. They absolutely had no clue because they said, okay, there is somebody who comes and picks up the waste and takes it out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know what happens to it after that. This is not my concern. And so I was like, okay, that was a bit of a red flag
Yeah.
for us immediately. Then we spoke to the local housekeeping team. They absolutely had no idea how to, what to do with waste. I was like, oh my God, now we have a lot of challenges. Pehle to,
Mm.
there was, the local municipal corporation is not cooperating. Second, the cricket association doesn't know what kind of numbers that come
Mm.
are there and what happens to waste after. And third is the local support staff, like a housekeeping team didn't know what were the basic categories of waste. A lot of red flags to start off with. So this was our initial, first 3, 4 visits at a stadium. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a tough challenge. And we literally had a month and a half before the first match. We then started, reverse engineering. Said, okay, let's make a checklist.
Mm.
Let's prepare. Okay, this is the brief given to us by the ICC, but they don't know anything better than this
Mm.
because it's the first time it was ever going to be implemented at a cricket match
Mm.
of making these stadiums sustainable. So we started preparing a checklist, and whatever our understandings were, or what from the time you enter a stadium to and this was, mind you, this was going to be a 50 over 100 over game of two
Yeah.
innings, 50
Yeah.
overs each. So 8 hours. So 8 hours. What is the approximate kind of waste that is being generated? We were just saying people are going to drink water, they're going to get hydrated, they're going to eat food, etc. So just coming up with some arbitrary numbers. So this is the approximate amount of waste that will be generated at the match. Then
Because
we
once again
started
you
off.
you had no source, you had nothing to even
Absolutely knows
estimate what is
nothing.
going to happen.
Estimate. There was nothing. We had no guidelines, nothing whatsoever. That's how literally we had no blueprint. So we literally with a clean slate, we went about assessing the stadium, how many stands are there, how many
Mm.
corporate boxes are there, what are the waste segregation facilities, how do the waste move around the stadium. All of that was understood by us. Of course, I must mention that the local cricket associations, although they were quite reluctant at the very outset to share any information, but later when we told them how we are going to bring value, not just to your cricket association, but India and as India is going to host a global event, and what happens to the waste if we do not segregate it and send it to a right value chain. It kind of stuck to when we
Mm.
should do something.
Mm.
The budgets, there is hundreds of crores of budgets allocated for hosting a cricket match, but so little for waste management. We'll do our bit. So Cricket Association immediately came on board. We got all the stakeholders were part of it. The stakeholders were the BCCI, the ICC, BCCI, the Global Cricket Association, the hospitality partners, the food beverage and partners. We spoke to the one of the managers of the Indian cricket team to understand what their experience was, and if they were on board. So everybody very nicely came
Mm.
on this project and said, let's do our bit.
Yeah.
That's how we had, and we needed, of course, support, because without support from any of the stakeholders, this would have been a failed mission. Absolutely, because as much if we had tried on ground, but people had to, come together to make this happen. And that's how we started our journey. And created, we said we looked at and luckily there was some kind of a benefit match going on at Wankhede Stadium with say 5,000 people. I said, okay, 5,000 people, this is the approximate kind of waste that has been generated. Okay, that is
Mm-hmm.
multiply by 7 times. This is what it will be. So we got some kind of ballpark figures
Yeah.
post the this one match. We had a lot of several consultations with some IPL franchises also, because IPL not had waste management teams on site, but not to the extent or level to which we were going to work during the World Cup. So we got some insights. But again, that was a 3-hour game. Now, how do I, that 3 hours, was not, that data wasn't enough for us to calculate what will happen in a full 100 over game.
Mm.
So that's how we started. Then we understood, spoke to trade associations, how many food and beverage vendors are going to have, what are the facilities for water at the stadium, what is the signages, how are the hoarding, what kind of material is used. Because Greenmyna, we work on two aspects. One is waste minimization, to minimize waste as much as possible, the outset, and then whatever waste is generated after that, manage it and ensure that it goes to
Mm.
the right value chain. So agar if you're not going to do waste minimization and you say, okay, you keep generating as much as you want and we will man, that doesn't work, because waste management also has a large carbon footprint.
Mm.
When you recycle a bottle of water, it is 82 grams of carbon emissions that are generated with one bottle of
Mm.
water. So it is now important not to generate that one bottle of water
Yeah,
as
yeah,
much as possible.
yeah.
So that's how we worked on the concept of waste minimization. uh Intervened. So the first step we took was to absolutely tell the ICC not to have any kind of plastic bottles at the
Mm.
event. He said that is, it's tough, not to have anything, because player dressing rooms, hospitality boxes, there are certain concerns that people don't drink from, an unopened seal bottle. But we said, okay, let's have it for the general stands where maximum amount of people are going to come in. They said, okay, that's a great idea. We anyways don't want plastic bottles, not from the environment reason, but people should not throw on the ground on the players. I said, okay, shall I, if not for the environment, at least for security,
But
we have to do
here,
that.
if I can just interrupt, I mean, it this may be a tangent, but do you think like this is an example of how if you are a certain financially, if you're a certain level up, you kind of get this uh pass where yeah you can have a plastic bottle, but then if you are a general public, and so they have to they have to do a lot, or they are told to do a lot, because yes, this is all because just because you are in more number of quantity
You're
than
buying a
maybe
cheaper
the
ticket. Yeah.
1% club or the
Yeah,
2% club.
yeah, yeah, you're buying a cheaper ticket. I agree. I totally agree. And it's unfortunate, but cricket in India, as spectators, it's unfortunate game of the privileged.
Mm,
Only the privileged get to, get the best of facilities, and, they get the hospitality boxes and, access to air conditioned areas. And the facilities for the general probably are dismal. And
mm,
I will say quite poor to start off with. And we saw that on ground, every day of the match that we were there, that, the situation for the general public was not as good as what it was in the hospital boxes. But that's a topic of discussion another time. But yes, I would agree that, there was, but yeah, what we did again was, we did install water stations in the hospitality boxes
mm,
as well.
yeah.
Yes, there were plastic bottles, but we gave people the choice. It's, okay, there is water available at
Mm,
water stations, which is absolutely safe to drink as well. And a plastic bottle, we would put subtle messages on the hospital by that each plastic bottle, when exposed to sunlight, leaches microplastic. So if
mm,
not for the environment, at least for your health, this
yeah,
is a
yeah,
health hazard. So you should ideally not be drinking. So try to impress upon that.
yeah.
So it helped in general. If there were 100 bottles being generated in hospital, probably there were 50 or 60 that was
Mm,
generated. So we did reduce. But okay, across the stadium, yes, there were several water stations that we
mm,
installed there. And these were 20-liter water stations. Of course, we will not compromise on health and hygiene
yeah,
at any
yeah.
point of time. But at the same time, in giving clean and safe drinking water. So the BCCI did a great initiative of giving free water to all the spectators
Mm,
at the event. So that also kind of helped the people are
yeah.
not purchasing bottled water. So that was a great initiative to
So
start off with.
yeah, and that's great. And I know that we are a bit low on time, so I have two very important questions. So
Yeah,
first of
sure.
all, I want you to we'll do two questions. It's a bit complicated. For the problem I have when we are discussing or we publish anything, we have published environmental stories. We have also talked about how maybe in IPL you can schedule it in a certain way where plane usage is a bit less because you're traveling 2,000
Yeah,
kilometers for just one match. But then people
correct.
find it difficult to actually care about it in very simple terms, actually care about what sports is doing to the environment, because all we know is cars do harm, and maybe when your switch is on when no one is in the room, that does the harm. Or I don't know, I mean, these simple things, but we are at a point where almost everything is contributing to everything. So just let me know why people should care about sports and its role in climate change, and then probably we'll go to the next question, which is again related to it. But yeah, let's start with this first question.
Just to give you numbers, and because I played the sport also professionally, I'll tell you that one cricket match, for preparing the pitch and the outfield consumes 25,000 liters of water.
Wow,
Okay,
that is a huge
so
number.
that's 25,000 liters of water are for just to prepare for an international match. This is the kind of water that is used. I am not even talking about the generators. For example, the stadium in Pune works purely on generators, six generators. Six
Mm,
generators are working non-stop for 8 hours. Each generator is 600 kilowatts. That multiplied the combination, it is generating 1.2 tons of carbon emission every match,
mm.
multiplied by 6. So the numbers are staggering. Numbers are
Staggering.
absolutely staggering. Yeah, this is just the pre-prep. I will just come to small aspect, which is very, very important, people don't understand, is the amount of food that is wasted at a
Mm,
cricket match. I will let you know, and this was again beyond the scope of our initial brief, but during the 10 matches that we did in Mumbai and Pune, we donated 9,000 meals from excess food generated at the matches. Each match we were donating at least 1,500 meals. And this also happened absolutely by chance, where we were at a waste segregation area at the stadium, and there was the housekeeping gentleman who came and just dumped 550 boxes of food. And I asked him, what are you doing? He said, this food is bad, is no one is eating it, I'm throwing it. And I didn't know how to react. I picked up the tray of food, just piping hot food. I said, why are you throwing this food? He's saying, nahi, koi nahi kha raha hai. And there, my kind of, I kind of lost my head a bit, and I said, this cannot happen. And we immediately, our team activated our NGO partners, Robin Hood Army, and said, we are at a cricket stadium here. Can you come and collect the food?
mm,
We will figure out the logistics, security, etc. But you come. And the time we called, to the time they came in after about 1.5 hours, because they also had to get their volunteers activated. There was 1,500 boxes of food that we sent out in Robin Hood Army that
yeah,
evening. And I was like, oh my God, if we had not there, this
yeah,
1,500 boxes would have been trashed. You know, there's so many, I mean, almost 60% of India don't get food.
yeah. Exactly,
We
exactly.
and here there is a problem of excess. I don't know what to do with it. And this is what we realized, that it is about wastage, the sheer wastage of food that was happening at these events. And there was surplus of absolutely everything. It was, of course, the hospitality boxes at stadium generate more waste than the rest of the general stands
Mm,
collectively. So you can add if there are 34 hospitality boxes, and which are about hosting about 3,000 people, 2,000 odd people, and the rest 30,000 are generating lesser amount of within
yeah,
2,000 people, because there is a problem of excess.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So this was really, really staggering, and that's where we realized that this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable in a time where we are staring at a very, very bleak future. And obviously already we are saying that because of high pollution levels, there were cricket matches that are on the brink of getting cancelled. Heat waves, extreme weather conditions are is going to affect sport.
yeah,
Say tennis, golf, cricket, you name football, you name it, is going to affect in some way or the other, and we have to be ready for it. So we are very, very not very optimistic. There has to be a very strong stance taken by the sporting associations to tighten the screws, make matches now sustainable and low waste. Because if we keep going on like this and consuming resources such mass scale, we will head into some serious trouble, and we might
yeah.
have at a point that there will not be a World Cup or an IPL in the future
Mm,
because of the extreme,
yeah.
weather conditions that prevail.
And thank you so much for sharing that, because I was almost in tears when you said that people were throwing food. And because we ourselves see, even on a signal, people are just sitting on a footpath and there are babies, and children who we know that they're not having 3 meals per day, and it's so important. And I think this is a good point to tell to all fans. If you feel that you are a dedicated cricket fan and you would do anything for the team, I think this is one aspect you now need to add in your list of doing anything for the team. If you can save up all your life to watch just one match, then you can also during that period of time ask these questions, publish something on social media about this. You can maybe, I don't know, but this has to come in these aspects, because this is hidden, we don't know this, and the impact is huge, of course. And now moving on to just the last question, very briefly, can you just give us what are the future steps cricket should take uh, in order to be a bit more sustainable, and also just let the fans also know what they can do from their side.
Okay, I'll just come to the fans first because that's
Yeah,
the easiest change that they can start doing.
yeah,
I think firstly, they should start demanding from cricketers because without the fans, the cricketers in the game is nowhere. You
yeah.
start demanding better facilities. Firstly, secondly, definitely ensure that if they do walk into a stadium, they must understand that they leave some kind of environmental footprint. Take the example of the Japanese football fans who were cleaning up the stadium after every match,
Mm,
right? We know we all forwarded their Instagram post and WhatsApp forwards. Why not replicate this when it
yeah.
comes to our own sporting nation, right? We did at Greenmyna post every match. We did a cleanup, and unfortunately, none of the spectators, viewers joined us after the match. But we did give a shout out. But if
Yeah.
we can start doing that in some way, that will be great. That contribute, give back to the game. Whenever you come in the sporting event, small things like stop littering. Ensure that whatever waste that goes in the right bin. Stop. Buy as much as you can eat. These small things, if you can start doing to start off as a fan, it will be great service to the sport and as humanity in general. That's one aspect from the because the fans, as I said, and I'm talking about the general fans. I'm not even going to the hospitalized boxes
Mhm.
or the VIP sections here. I'm talking about to general public. From the cricket association, yes, the big onus lies on them to ensure that start these matches now become sustainable. From matches, our stadiums are very poorly equipped. If a stadium is generating 7.5 tons of carbon emissions at every match because you don't have solar power or even raw power at one, then there is a flaw. These stadiums should not be allowed to hold matches.
Mm,
You need to fix that
yeah,
processes
yeah.
in place. Second, there must be emphasis given to waste management and waste segregation. None of the stadium, but what we did have any kind of waste management system in place. It was absolutely that out of sight, out of mind. I don't care where the waste goes post the match as long as it is cleared out of my premises. And this is a very good disservice to the game and the citizens of the city where they live in. You cannot force 10, 12,000 kilos of waste onto the city's landfills because you're hosting a cricket match. And I
Mhm.
think more responsibility needs to come in here. They need to, imbibe sustainable practices. A small thing like just having water stations across the stadium, putting signages, ensuring that you give facilities. One thing that we realized in our matches that when we gave facilities to the viewers and the spectators, that we gave two bins, we sensitized them. There was an positive impact
Yeah, yeah.
from having say 50% source segregation at the first match to 95% source segregation the last match. We realized we worked on the minds of the people.
Mm,
And there was a lot of people, people who had bought tickets for all these matches in Mumbai or Pune, and they repeatedly saw us. And the fifth match onward, they say, "Ha, sir, आपने आपको पहले भी देखा था, we'll throw it in the
mm,
right bin."
mm,
So there must be a continuous exercise that it should happen. We should have the same way that we put up, a 6 or a 4 on the scoreboard. There should be some message for the environment on that side. Do not litter. Put some messaging on about dry and wet waste segregation on the scoreboard. Have some kind of a carbon offsetting mechanism in place. For the last IPL, there was every dot ball, there was a tree planted somewhere. I don't know the numbers whether it is tree or planted, but yes, if we can now substantially and do that for all the sporting
mm,
events,
mm,
where we can offset the the carbon footprint that is generated. it'll be great. Have matches in a certain way that the players are not crossing, the teams are not crisscrossing the entire country. If they're playing in, say, in Mumbai, the next match will be in Pune, Bangalore, in Trivandrum, in such a way that they are, ensuring that they have a minimal carbon footprint and
Hmm.
with their air travel. So all these small interventions are required. We are in the 21st century. Today on the the cricket BCCI is the richest cricket organization in the country, and they do have the resources
Yeah.
to ensure that they can make these stadiums sustainable, and there is a lot of room for improvement. There is potential. We have given a full list of our recommendations. After
Yeah.
every match we will give a report to the ICC of what the drawbacks or what are the plus points were
Hmm.
also after
Hmm.
every match. And we have also given a consolidated report for Mumbai and Pune with a recommendation for all future measures. What are the minimum SOPs that are required to be done? So the data is there, the SOPs are there, recommendation. All that needs to be done is now implemented.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I hope that all the hard work that everyone, our volunteers, all the stakeholders put in during these matches is not gone to waste. And this is not
Hmm.
a one-off thing.
Yeah.
And we do start incorporating it because if can you imagine if the BCCS starts doing it, it will have a ripple effect. It will
Yeah.
be every other cricket association in the world, every sporting association will want to do it.
Yes. Yes.
So it will set
Exactly.
a precedent. So it makes everyone look good at the end of the day.
Yeah.
There's no point talking
Hmm.
about sustainability if you cannot do these small things on
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving your time. Thank you so much for enlightening us with all these different aspects. And I know you are very busy, so I'll just wrap up very quickly. Fans, you can go and visit their website, Greenmyna. I think they're doing an excellent job. If you feel, I mean, we know now that they help you out by for offsetting your carbon footprint. So definitely, maybe contact them if you have something for that. And yeah, I think I'm sure that whatever you have recommended, ICC and BCCI should implement as well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining, and maybe we'll have another conversation another time about something more.
Sure.